I don't know if any of you know that that's an arrangement from the Ode of Joy that it just fills our hearts so much of the time at many seasons.
And is your mic
From
on?
Beethoven's Ninth Symphony,
It's on.
fourth movement.
Oh, is it?
My mic's on.
Okay. All right.
Take this off of it. Maybe that'll be better.
Okay.
Hello, Bonnie. Can you hear me back there? Okay. Well, do you know what the topic is today? Joy, joy, joy. I've been working on this almost 2 weeks, but I will tell you that anybody who's done a talk knows that when you really get into it, things start happening in that range that you're working in, especially. And I happened to be talking to Reverend Lola this week, and she wanted to know what were some of my references that I had been reading. And I told her she might be able to get them. And within 24 hours, she was back with me. She says, "Barbara, you've started something." I thought, good or bad? You just don't know, especially at my age. Anyway, she says, "Oh, I am just finding everything I need." She'd been going through some challenges. We all do. And just because she's a minister doesn't mean that she doesn't need some help. Well, we normally don't talk about helping one another, but through things we share, we can help one another. So she called me back and thanked me for the references I gave her. But she had to go look them up, and things would jump out at her. And I'm going to point out one especially that was very helpful to her, and I'm going to pass it on to you as business. Now, we sung this wonderful, joyful song that's hundreds of years old. Maybe the words aren't, but the tune is. And I got to thinking, when we say joy, or being joyful, what does that mean to you now? And especially in today's life, it isn't something we really talk about very much. And I got to thinking, how would you define joy in your life, or in today's life? Do you just...
Your heart is happy.
Your heart is happy, okay. Yeah. There's no wrong answer to these. I would never do that to you.
Oh, I haven't found that.
Yeah. Well, energy, excitement. Okay. Contentment.
Joy and love.
Joy and love. It's hard to separate the two, and we'll talk about that too today. Anybody else? When I say joy, or a joyful time in your life, does an image come up or a memory come up? I see some heads nodding. Yeah. One of the ones I remember is as young kids running down the staircase on Christmas morning, and the Christmas tree lit, and all the presents under the tree. That joy that is palpable, palpable. You can just feel it. Everyone in the house has to be awake by then, to join in, that sort of thing. We have lots of memories of joy. Some of the definitions I looked up was mirth, because we don't use that word very much. It's sort of a celebration type thing. Cheerfulness, delight, pleasure, gaiety, merriment. Some of these things sound way off from the way we're living. rejoicing, jubilation, celebration, laughter, praise. What about elation? Enjoy it. There's a whole spectrum, isn't there, of the word joy as we see it today. In today's world, we do not plan for joy in our living. We, of course, have happy occasions and cheerfulness scattered throughout our lives, but we miss out on many opportunities to be joyful. Let alone planning releasing our spiritual joy into the world to bless others. Can we do it today? We are often too busy or productive to cultivate joy. It's just not one of the things we think about. It can be seen as elusive or frivolous luxury. Can you feel that in your life? It's something you don't want to be bothered with. It's not important. I'm telling it like I've noticed it. If we live as if joy is a sometime commodity, finding it at certain times only to lose it again, tends to be temporary. Joy is a spiritual gift, guys. It is a gift within us, a true gift of God. It's God's laughter in us. It's like a package that's down deep within us that we're not concentrating on in today's world very much. But it's there. And you don't have to wait for it to pop up out here. We're going to talk about ways you can bring it from within you out into this world. And once you start doing that, I will tell you, things will happen all around you. And Lola will tell you too. She's listening today. She is. Available at all times and everywhere present, joy is. Just like God is. For God is joy. It is a part of our being that we cannot separate from ourselves. But we tend to ignore it for whatever reason. I looked up how did the Old Testament people celebrate joy. If you read Old Testament, joy scattered throughout the Old Testament, especially in Psalms. There's hundreds of references to joy and praise. Praise is very important. But back then, here's some of the things that they celebrated a lot more as groups, more than the individual, which we talk about here. But they celebrated as a people. Things like they celebrated married life, birth of children. They would have parties, week-long parties, and celebrate and give praise. As a group, more pervasive was the exaltation in God's action in the behalf of their nation, to keep them safe, or to look with joy upon the divine acts of redemption and vengeance in which the wicked receive just compensance for their deeds. That's what joy was to them. They saw it as an actual fact of God in their lives. And they stayed with that. Also, joy celebrations were used for anticipating future deliverances by God for their nation. they had a forward look using joy. Even nature was invited in. One of my favorite, the favorite one for me was in Isaiah 55:12. Ye go out with joy and lead forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Can you imagine a group of people going through the forest singing and celebrating? They had drums and trumpets and it was a celebration. And that all the echoing through the woods or through the mountains coming back at them. And the leaves fluttering, like the clapping of hands. Can you feel the joy? We don't do things like that anymore as a group normally. Joy was used for healing and grief back then. Isaiah 61:3, to provide for those that mourn, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. We don't think of joy connected with funerals or memorial services. But I tell you, and I'm sure Cynthia can, that when you bring up, I used to use questions for families when we were preparing the services. I would ask them, what did they appreciate most in the person that we're going to celebrate? And once one person starts talking about things that they appreciated in that person or that they would miss the most, and other people start, it changes the whole dynamic of feeling so heavy. Not that you're not grieving, but it lightens it up through joy and loving them. The love comes through to help the healing of the heart. When you just remember the truth of it all. Now, in New Testament, Jesus changes a lot of this stuff. Jesus talks about our spiritual joy and gives us guidance how to access and use the gift of joy. And I think one of the clearest examples of that, more room. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. One of the clearest examples of how joy, I think, works in us, how we access it, and especially in unity language, is the Gospel of John, chapter 15. And this is, I am the true vine. Okay. This is Jesus talking to his disciples. He says, I am, we've heard I am before. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He called God Father. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it more fruitful. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides on the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. It comes from God the Father, our Creator, joy. It comes through the I am, the Christ that attached us to the Creator. Through Jesus, that we use Jesus. And that it's always being groomed. And you're always in connection with it. It isn't just once in a while. It's all the time within you. And you can pull it forth. We'll talk about the how-tos in a minute. This is an example of how we are spiritually made through the inner I am. We have been cleansed and purified through Christ's mind, the I am, and we bear much fruit every day. You're spreading you around. You can't help but touch people by your words, by your actions, by your thoughts. When our faith attaches itself to outer things instead of the spiritual I am, it ceases to be spiritually productive. This is why affirmations, prayer, meditation, and praise are so important on a regular daily basis, included in your daily routines. This day-to-day repeating of spiritual habits finally opens the channel of intelligent communication with the silent depths of your being. When you are willing to go within and look every day and look for the good, look for something to make you happy. I have a little book over here. I'm just going to step out of camera to remind us. You can find these. I give these out a lot to people who have been maybe diagnosed with various kinds of cancer. It's called Do One Thing Every Day That Makes You Happy. And there's little, it's not necessarily religious, just little verses or comments, and a place at the bottom of the page that you can use like a journal. It covers the year as you do. But include joy in your daily practice. Because if you were given a gift to take away pain, to take away sadness, if you were given a gift that you could not only help yourself, but look towards the future with hope, with love, would you not want to practice it every day? We forget we've got this wonderful gift. Charles Fillmore says that love is the great force that dissolves opposition to our true thoughts, and it smooths all obstacles of life, leading to letting joy loose. He didn't say that, that's my comment, but loosening joy in us. Another positive force that has not been bearing fruit. We have not been using it. We need to fulfill our law of good. He also says to fulfill the law of all good requires the keeping of the commandments, which is commanding, controlling, and directing our thoughts, watching what you're thinking. Cancel out what isn't serving you, cancel out negative, cancel out depression, cancel out, and then fill it with something positive, something joyous, something happy. Affirm the joy of the Lord is my strength. If things are feeling a little bit low and heavy for you, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Charles Fillmore wrote a book called Jesus Christ Heals. He did a whole chapter on the healing power of joy, how it works to heal mind, soul, and body. That's where I got the title for today is the balancing of our soul. Because when you have joy in you, you can't stay down when you access it. Let's make joy a habit. You have much to gain. Even in the midst of gloom, drop a thought of joy into your mind. I don't care what it is. Ask God for help. If you're feeling a little low and you've been negative about something, say, "No, wait a minute. I don't have to feel this way. I don't have to be low. Help me think of some positive spot that I'm truly grateful for, or that it makes me feel happy." Joy. It only takes a drop of that to dissolve the hold it has on you. But it takes practice. That's all it does. And daily practice included in your prayer time, or included in make up a happy affirmation for the day. It's easy. Just do it. Just do it. Joy is a wellspring within us and will respond to our word. God is in each of us as fullness of joy. In the asking we shall find our answers, and in our seeking we shall find not only light, but joy that glorifies and transforms our life. It transforms us. We can't stay the same once we let joy out. Joy is a state of mind and an orientation of the heart. It is a settled state of contentment. Who's somebody say contentment? Confidence and hope. Remember that praise is a prayer. This is what caught Reverend Lola's attention. She had, not that she didn't know that praising is a prayer, but it is. It's one of the most powerful things we can do is to praise things. Myrtle Fillmore did praising. Charles Fillmore, the Unity Movement was raised on praising. It sort of, I think in some ways has gotten a bad rap when there are some churches that use praise heavily that are somewhat looked down on. But there is a healing presence to praise. So include praise in your daily prayer. Praise your body, praise your friends, praise your mind, your thoughts, praise the people you work with. We praise this morning. We lifted our hearts in prayer to the people who worked in this building to make it so beautiful for us and safe for us. And those who could see what was coming for us and hold the high watch, we are grateful to you. Joy is a state of mind and an orientation at our heart level. It is a settled state to remember that praise is a prayer. Praise is healing. So, I forgot, praise your pets. I praise my car. I always bless my car and refrigerator, and stuff. I figure it can't hurt a thing. It keeps it going. So it may sound like fun and games, but what it's doing, it sets up It sets up a cleansing of your mind and your heart. And you can't get as down as you used to get, because all of a sudden you'll get this thought, why are you doing this? I get, Barbara, what is that to thee? You know, and I have to change my thought pattern. I have to put something in its place because it was not serving me. So that's what joy is all about, is that we always have that upliftment within us. And not only that, it spills out into our world. You know, it's like the things I talked to Lola about, that it was helpful to her it hit her about the power of praise at this time in her life. And, you know, it wasn't me. It didn't come from me. It's just the way things happen. See how miracles happen through you and when you least expect it. Now don't put your heads down. Stand up there, let your light shine, and don't hide it under a bushel. You know, back then, the houses didn't have full walls in a lot of the houses. They were only maybe 3/4 of a wall, 2/3 to 3/4. So they would put a lamp on a lampstand that would shine in more than one room. And that's where some of that light comes from, is that don't put a bushel basket over your light, or you don't put it where people can't see your light shine. And we just cover it up because we forget how really powerful and how really wonderfully we're made. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up about joy is a vibration that you'll find in this world, and especially in music or in listening to people's words and their talk. I want you to turn to 340. 340. Some of you probably learned this a long time ago. And I want you to stand up if you're able, or comfortable, excuse me. You can't, you got to sit. Stand up if you're able, and I want you to feel what you're singing. And let the vibration of this song, it's very simple, it's almost like a mantra. You want to play it through once?
I'm just doing an introduction. I think you're famous.
Okay. They say that our whole universe is on a has a vibration level, and it sings to itself. Can you imagine what that would be like if we could hear that? The universe singing, and nature sings to us too.